What's up, everybody, and welcome back to another episode with the boys. Again, we don't have Brady. He is far away from us this time. He is on a cruise.
He's in the water.
He's gonna have to stop this. He's running out of PTO. TO.
He's running out of time off.
I was like, we're getting paid.
Just TO.
You guys are getting paid.
So yeah, again, Brady, we miss you. Wish he was here for this one as well. Other than that, I'm gonna send it to our boy Nick. He's gonna talk about the topic today. And what is the topic today, Nick?
A bad man. His name is Vince McMahon. He bad. He bad.
He's a monster.
He's a monster. He's also responsible for stuff that we love, which is wrestling. Well, I don't know if people watching this love wrestling.
Before we get any further, I do want to point out, if nobody is really paying attention, we're going to talk about Vince McMahon. You know, the former owner of WWE as of today. And we got Nick wearing the competitor.
Yeah.
We got Nick wearing AEW. As we're going to talk about Vince McMahon, so I feel like, it's just...
Yeah, I'm really excited to watch AEW tonight because John Moxley's going to explain why he killed Bryan Danielson. So.
Hold on, time out. What?
Murder?
So, here, I'll just say this before I explain Vince. So, there was, I think last pay-per-view, not the one that just ran, the last one, AEW. John Moxley and the rest of the team, Blackpool Combat Club, with Bryan Danielson, they came out and they turned on him, and they attacked him, and they brought out a plastic bag, and they suffocated him on TV.
AEW is wild.
And everyone complained about it because they were like, that's not wrestling. They said, you're literally suffocating a man on camera.
That's what KB Man is.
So naturally, the recent pay-per-view Saturday, they did it again. John Moxley, spoilers, John Moxley beat Bryan Danielson for the AEW World Heavyweight Championship, which means Bryan Danielson's full-time wrestling career is over. But not only did they end his full-time wrestling career and take his belt, but then they brought out the bag again, and they suffocated Bryan Danielson, and everyone came out to try to protect him, and they couldn't protect him. So...
They said, "Oh, you're offended? 2 for 1."
Yeah, they said, "Wow, that sucks." I'll just do it again.
All right, so
yeah,
we're not here to talk about AEW anymore, though. Let's get into talking about this bad man, Vince McMahon.
If anyone watching does not know who Vince McMahon is, I know you guys know who Vince McMahon is. Vince McMahon was the owner and booker and everything that you can think of for WWE. If you don't know what WWE is, I don't know how you don't. But if you don't know what it is, it's a wrestling company where big names like Hulk Hogan, John Cena, other mainstream people like The Rock, if you know these actors or people.
All right, you can't leave out my guy Stone Cold.
Stone Cold.
Sorry. You can't just leave him out.
What? Just give me a hell yeah.
Because that's the bottom line. I'm sorry. I'm not going to quote him. I don't want to get sued.
Give me a hell yeah.
Yeah, Stone Cold Steve Austin. Modern stars like Roman Reigns. All these people that are in media, they're all wrestlers. They come from a company called WWE. So I'll start off with, I guess, because there's a lot with Vince.
So let's talk about the history of it first, like how
He wants
Vince
to go in chronological order.
You want me to tell you the history of Vince?
So let's talk about that. Like, how did Vince even not that far, not that far. Like, how did Vince, get the company or start the company?
It's Papa.
So let's start. So, yeah, like you said, his Papa.
So Vince got the company because his dad actually used to run it. It was WWWF.
Did you say 3 W's?
Yeah, Worldwide Wrestling Federation, and then eventually became WWF, which was World Wrestling Federation.
Mm-hmm.
The person that owned it was Vincent. I can't remember his middle name, but Vince McMahon. Vince McMahon Sr.
Yeah.
His dad was also named Vince McMahon. Before the year 1984. specifically, I'll get to why I'm mentioning this here. But there's a thing
I was
called
about to say, man's getting specific.
but there is a thing called wrestling territories. So, I just
Yep.
said that WWE was a company. There's other companies, like I'm wearing an AEW sweatshirt. That's a different company.
Well, yeah,
we
there's
did-
a lot of them out there.
Yeah, there's a lot of different companies out there. WWE is not the only one.
But I would have to say that besides AEW, that WWE is connected through most of them. Like a lot of people come from TNA. A lot of people come from Ring of Honor.
Yeah, it's like football teams. Like think of it
It's kind of like college before you go to the big league.
Yeah, just
So-
think about it as if like you can just equate it to different teams and like how one like a football team.
Well,
or
I would have to
a-
say it's more like high school, and then NXT is the college, and then you get onto the main rosters.
Yeah, but that's all within the same company. Like,
Yeah.
NXT
Yeah.
is. I'm talking about like
Well, I guess they don't make NXT the like
it's its own thing.
the off
It's
branch anymore.
It's like Raw, SmackDown, NXT.
Yeah, because they ain't got ECW no more.
No.
That's so sad.
Thank
I miss
God.
ECW.
Thank God.
What?
They bought ECW and ruined it.
I mean, that's Paul Heyman's fault. He shouldn't have let them take over like that.
He wasn't paying anyway.
But continue. Sorry.
Yeah, so yeah, what I was saying was there's different companies, but back in the day, before the year 1984, there was wrestling territories. So think of like the map of USA. Think of like the northern, the southern, the western, and the eastern part of that map. And instead of one wrestling company being like the major juggernaut of this whole area, you had multiple different little companies that were in the same area. So you could have a bunch of different companies that are in a southern area, and that was the southern territory.
Mm-hmm.
It was mainly ran by the big company was NWA or WWF, were up and comers. The way that Vince got into the business was his dad didn't want him in the business, but he was very interested in like the business side of things, and he was interested in making money and running things.
Yeah, because wasn't his dad selling the company?
Yeah.
And then,
Well, at first his dad didn't want him in the business, but then he gave him control of one of his companies, one of his little organizations in their territory, to see if he could actually run it, if he had what it takes. And he was like, "You're doing really good with this. It's getting hot. Everybody really likes this."
yeah, he said like I'll give you 3 months, 9 months. He gave him a certain time.
I think half a year. I think he gave him
I was gonna say he said that I'll give you like this much time, and we'll see where you go with it.
Sorry, I'm drinking my Red Bull. I would like to be sponsored us. Anyways, yeah,
Just saying, Red Bull is not sponsoring us.
I would like if they did.
Justin's up there like, no. We need Monster to sponsor us.
Brother, I'll take whatever. Venom?
He said,
"I'll take
I
Venom."
don't even know if Venom's a thing anymore.
It is.
Is
Yes,
it
I
really?
think it is.
Yeah, they sell it at like the marathon, I think. Right down the street.
All the gas stations I usually hit are
Bug juice?
Bug juice?
Alright.
Ribbits?
No, not actually. Just kidding about
From
that
the screen to the ring.
Disgusting.
But
Vince's father was. Some of this information, by the way, you could find on the recent Vince McMahon documentary on Netflix.
yeah, I was
It covers it
gonna
super-
save it for the end.
It,
But
it covers it super
say-
well, but
in any way we are not sponsored by Netflix, but there is a documentary out on Netflix of Vince McMahon. If you guys haven't seen it, or if you want more information on top of what we are talking about, definitely go check it out.
yeah. Where Vince kind of explains it a little bit, but when Vince was going to take over the company, it was because his dad was uninterested in running it anymore. He just simply did not care about it anymore. He was just over it. He was done. He'd done wrestling for way too long. So he sold it to his son, Vince McMahon. And Vince then decided that instead of just running with this company and trying to be the best, he was going to compete with others in a way that wasn't really like well known. So instead of trying to like work hard and like
Yeah, I mean,
build up your name.
honestly, Vince took this company And I mean, it is a business, but like he took it and just was like you said, competing.
Mm-hmm.
But by competing, he went to the other territories.
Yeah.
Which you're not supposed to do. But he said, you know what? I don't care. This is a business that I'm trying to run, and I'm trying to be the best business out there. So
yeah, pretty much what he did was, instead of, like I said earlier, there's territories. So if you're in the southern area, your time slot or like where you're airing on TV is only in the southern area, southern territory. You're not going to air on the other side of the world or the other side of the country.
Right.
So what Vince McMahon started doing was he started going to these other territories and he started making deals with TV networks and TV producers like, hey, I have a better product and I have more money. And if you put me on instead of them, it's probably going to be better. Or if you just put me on and give me a chance, I can be better than them. Which, that was very taboo. People, that was not a thing that anybody thought of.
yeah.
But eventually, it worked, and Vince was like the only one remaining because everybody knew WWF. And because of this, those territories that no longer had any traction because Vince is airing on their time slots and no one cares about him anymore, he bought those people out. So now those people are like, a company's failing. Vince is like, well, then I'll just give you money and I'll buy your name, I'll buy your wrestlers, I'll buy you. And we worked together. And we literally just collected everybody like Pokemon.
I choose you!
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Just throwing them out in the ring.
I mean,
Hulk Hogan, I choose you!
I mean, like, can you blame him? I mean, he won.
Yeah.
He won.
I mean, in that whole documentary, like, you will hear the same line over and over again that he will say, and it's probably like the most words that he would ever say repeatedly. I do best, or what's best for business.
Yeah, he does what's best for business.
Best for business is like the main two words that he will say.
Yeah,
That's 3.
Or, yeah, sorry. I was thinking best business. Sorry.
Got him.
You got me there.
But that's just like a little quick like history lesson on like where Vince came from and where WWF/WWE came from
And how it grew.
Eventually, it grew into the juggernaut that we all know it as is WWE. The reason they switched from the name WWF to WWE is because WWF, the World Wildlife Foundation,
Yeah.
Foundation,
They had to.
They had been using the name way before WWF.
Yeah, and in that documentary, spoiler if you guys haven't seen it, that he said that they were going to even try to fight for the name.
Yeah, they were going to try to fight for it, but he knew they were going to lose.
Yeah, Vince already knew he was probably going to lose.
Mm-hmm. And the reason
so
reason this also ended up coming was because WWF ended up going public. So they went public, and this was the first time ever that wrestling had become mainstream. So like, even though it was really popular,
Well, I mean,
wrestling,
they were working them because also in it, they were working them 7 days a week.
I'm getting a call from a spam number.
Oh boy,
Get declined.
it's Vince.
It's Vince
He's after
McMahon.
us.
He said, "Stop talking."
But yeah, they were working them 7 days a week.
Yeah,
And
no,
actually,
they were
They were working 2 different shows at the same time too.
Yeah, but by going public, I mean like they had never gone out and like mass like media, like mass like think of like how there could be like they ended up finally getting like a public restaurant that was like WWF themed. They ended up getting WWF themed albums. They ended up getting WWF themed like wrestlers started going out.
Was it during WWF that
Yeah.
they get that? So they also had a casino and hotel too.
Yep, yeah. So this was the first time that they decided to go public and wrestlers would go out and about. There's even a part where wrestlers talk about how back in the day, wrestlers usually like if they went outside or they went out in public, they might get recognized.
So, yeah, I just wanted to mention, here's one thing I did not know that Vince did. I did not know he opened up his own like bodybuilding competition.
Yeah.
I did not know he did that.
Yeah.
I thought that was insane.
That's why he got all jacked up on roids. He had to compensate being around all those swole dudes.
He did. He had to
Well, actually, it was during the time before. It was during the time that they were allowed to take these. Like there was no like legal limit for him at that time until it started becoming a big thing with the wrestlers.
Yeah, it wasn't really illegal to take them. It was illegal to distribute them, but it was not illegal to take them.
But here's the thing, that one of the doctors that worked for WWE was giving it to the wrestlers. And so he ended up getting in trouble for it.
Allegedly.
So
did he actually already get charged for it?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, he had to go to court and everything.
Yeah, it was
Not
like,
allegedly. He got caught.
But right around the time that they did go public,
Red-handed.
a little bit around that time, and then beforehand was they got hit with a big lawsuit where wrestlers were coming out and saying that they were on steroids the whole time. And
I think what started it was Hulk Hogan was on a talk show, and he went out there and said that Vince never gave me them, but I take them.
So that didn't start it. No.
Macho Man was in the camera standing like a
It wasn't
bulldog,
even Macho.
and he was like, "I'm not on roids."
Wiping his nose free of the coke.
Honestly, the only person, it wouldn't even be Hulk Hogan that I would think would have been the one on roids. It would be Ultimate Warrior. Dude came out like just jacked.
Oh yeah,
ready.
Hogan was definitely on roids.
I mean, yeah. But like, if you look at
24-inch python.
Oh, 24. Jeez.
See, I'm not the only one messing up. But if you look at Hulk Hogan, then you look at Ultimate Warrior, though, you would definitely think that it's Ultimate Warrior that's mainly on him.
Yeah.
Because dude's like just run into the ring, just jacked,
I actually don't even remember how that case started, but I know that they were in deep trouble because it was a big thing.
Yeah.
A journalist was coming out and he was writing that Vince McMahon had to have been supplying these wrestlers with steroids.
To this day, that same journalist still does not like Vince McMahon.
He's such a
hater. Not like Vince McMahon at all.
He's a hater, but not a hater for disliking Vince, just in general. Like, it seemed like he was just hell bent on anything they do.
Yeah.
I'm gonna write about it and I'm gonna get them in trouble.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna fight. But they were on a big they had a big controversy surrounding steroids, and the controversy was that a doctor, like you said, was selling steroids to these wrestlers. And it was not illegal for wrestlers to take steroids, but it was illegal for people to be selling these steroids not through the counter. And just like drugs, you can't sit there and illegally distribute it, but you can take it if you're prescribed it. And they were abusing these steroids. And the big question was Vince allowing this to happen, and was Vince supplying these wrestlers themselves with steroids? Which, the reason that they were going to get out of it was because everyone was like, no, Vince maybe knows, but he doesn't. He has never encouraged anyone to take steroids. Vince has never sold me steroids until Hulk Hogan was going to go on a talk show. And he told Hulk Hogan, he said, just go there and say the truth. You take steroids. But everyone knows that wrestlers are on steroids. Everybody knows that everyone is taking them. Say the truth. Say that you have taken them, but that I'm not supplying them. I'm not encouraging you to take it. So Hulk Hogan's dumbass goes on the talk show and he goes, I don't take steroids. And then they're like, you don't take steroids? And he goes, no, brother. He said, I've never put that in my body ever.
That's what it was.
Which
Sorry.
Now you look stupid because all these wrestlers have confirmed that the big names like you and other people take steroids, and then other people come out and they're like, Hulk Hogan's lying. I have injected him with steroids myself. I have helped him take steroids.
Yeah,
so
I
now you
remember
look
that.
bad because you blatantly look like you lied on television instead of just coming up and being like, yes, I have taken steroids before. Vince does not supply me steroids. Instead, he went out there and he was like, I've only taken them 3 times, brother. Not good.
Yeah.
Not good.
So
the way it ended though was Hulk Hogan was talking to the prosecutors and basically was telling them a bunch of stuff about Vince and was like, yeah, I'm going to testify against Vince. And I'm going to blow the lid on it.
I was really shocked about that. Hogan actually came out and was like,
Hogan goes to testify against
because they
Vince.
was like, we're not going to do, the investigators was like, if you testify against Vince, we're not going to do anything towards you or anything. But I was surprised. I was like, dude, Hulk Hogan's really about to do that.
Yeah, and then Hulk Hogan goes and then he immediately goes on the stand and he's like, Vince is innocent. Vince has not supplied anybody with steroids. He's never encouraged anyone to take steroids. And the prosecutors are like, damn it! He played us!
Should have cross-examined that fool.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
And
just
then
one of
was that
major
during
controversies.
was that during the same time that Hogan left?
Yeah, he was in WCW.
No, not was he?
Oh,
I was
well,
gonna say he's
no
doing
longer,
movies, wasn't he?
No longer in WCW because this was after. This was in like 2003. But yeah, he left. He already left.
I was gonna say he left, went and to do some movies or something like that,
yeah.
and then Eric Bischoff ended up being in the same place he was, and that's when Eric Bischoff told him like, hey, you know, because it was the other reason why Hogan left was because of the schedule.
Yeah, Hogan
And
left.
Bischoff
Hogan
was
left
like, hey, we're gonna
WWF
pay you.
because of scheduling.
Yeah. And Bischoff's like, hey, we're going to pay you this much, but you only got to work like 3 days of the week.
Yeah, fun fact about him. If you go look at WCW's, like, if you guys watching and listening don't know, so WCW was another company that was around for years. They actually used to be called WCCW, World Class Championship Wrestling, and then they changed to WCW, just World Championship Wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
They got really hot in the 90s because the guy running it, Eric Bischoff, decided, I'm going to go compete with Vince McMahon. I'm going to compete with WWF.
Yeah.
So the reason that he was able to compete with him was because they were through Ted Turner and TNT/TBS network. And Ted Turner had that shmoney back in the late 90s. And they were like, you know,
well, that and they're like pulling names, and
yeah,
because it was because of the scheduling too, and how much they're
what they did is they said WWF has a really heavy schedule. They're not getting paid a lot, and their product sucks because their product was like tailored to kids and really like it was like a really bad like circus show. Terrible. Like early 90s WWF was hot.
Yeah. I would think, like, you would think that started the downfall of Vince McMahon.
No. He survived.
Yeah.
So what Eric Bischoff ended up doing was he said, so what I'm going to do is he's like, I'm going to offer a lighter schedule. I'm going to pay these guys a lot more money. And then he's like, and then my product is going to be tailored towards young adults. So there's going to be like, you know, you're going to see some ass. You're going to see some explosions. You're going to see like the most wild stuff.
And then you're pulling, you know, good names. Like you got Hulk Hogan there. Then you got Scott Hall, Kevin Nash that went there. You got Sting. And the
reason he was able to get those top names was, like I was saying, was he was offering a lighter schedule and bigger payouts. So, you know, slowly people would go to WCW, and then everyone's friends in the wrestling business. So people would talk and be like, how is things over there? And they'd be like, look, man, I get to see my family a lot more. This guy's paying me a lot of money.
Yeah.
And he's like, you might want to come over here when your contract's up. Just saying. Because, like I said earlier, you could literally equate wrestling companies to like football teams.
And then back to WWF, to where Vince was like, all right, we need to start making a change now. Few of the wrestlers didn't like, one of the wrestlers I know did not like how it was starting to change. Because Vince has to compete with this guy now. Because Vince's ratings are down compared to WCW.
Yeah, I was getting to that. So,
my bad.
Yeah. So, but the reason that he ended up needing to compete was because, like I said, their show was hot doo-doo. And WCW was like, we're going to make ours more tailored to, what's it called, a young adult audience. Yeah. So that's what Vince was like going to do. He said, okay, well, if they're going to take all my guys because of the way that their show is, and they're paying my guys more, he said, I just need to make my show different. Yeah. So that's where the Attitude Era came in from, was because he decided that I need to compete with them and up my product. So it went from a dog doo-doo circus show for kids to
because Vince was
ass explosions.
Yeah, Vince was like, because what made it happen was, who was it? Was it Stone Cold that made it happen? Because Vince looked at him and he's like, that's what we need. We need attitude.
No, it was Shawn Michaels.
Shawn Michaels, that's who it was.
Michaels.
Sorry.
Yeah.
But it brings me up to one of the things I wanted to bring up when I was speaking about some of the guys wasn't liking the change. There's one guy we all know, Bret Hart. He did not like how WWE was turning. He didn't like the way it was going, the way it's moving forward. Well, you got, like I said, you're going to hear what Vince says a lot in that documentary. He's got to do what's best for business. You want to get your ratings up, you got to do what's best for business.
Mhm.
And that's to change, move forward with society. And that's what he said. It was
Society.
like what you see on TV, or what, you know, guys are seeing on TV and everything at the time. MTV was a huge thing at the time. TMZ was a huge thing at the time. So what did you expect to see, see on all those when, you know, in the early 2000s and late 90s, you know, a lot of women and everything. So Vince McMahon was like, that's what we got to put on TV. That's what people are seeing. So they're moving with society. Well, Bret Hart didn't like it. So this is what bringing up the topic I want to talk about, which is the Montreal screw job. I don't know if you've ever heard about it, but I know Nick has for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know what that is?
No.
Okay, so Bret is leaving WWE. Is it WWE at the time?
No, F.
It's still F? Okay, so it's WWF. He's leaving. He's going to WCW. And him and Vince have talked about it multiple times, saying they're cool. You know, it's okay. Your contract's up. But you can't take the belt with you. You got to lose the belt.
Because he's WWF World Heavyweight Champion at the time.
Yeah. And they're like, okay, Shawn Michaels is going to be the new champion. So Bret was like, that's cool. We'll do it in Montreal. And so what happened was they were, you know, Bret and Shawn were supposed to end it like normal, you know, but Vince McMahon comes outside down to the ring. Shawn Michaels puts Bret in a sharpshooter, and Vince is yelling at the bell guy, like, ring the bell, like, ring it. But Bret never tapped. So basically Bret Bret got screwed by Vince McMahon because it didn't end on good terms like it was supposed to.
Yeah, the reason.
But here's the thing, where Bret ended up getting upset about it. He spit on Vince McMahon because he was so upset about it. And so he even, like, as they were walking up the ramp, Bret was still in the ring, and Bret spelled out WCW in the air, pointing towards Vince. But I'm gonna be honest with you, I think Vince stood on business. Like, he's like, that's my property. I'm making sure you ain't walking out with it. You're going to my competitor, so yeah, you know, you're screwing me basically.
So he didn't. So Bret, the reason that he got screwed out of his championship was the story behind it. Was, like you said, Bret was going to WCW, but at the time he is World Heavyweight Champion, and if he's going to the other company and he is currently the World Heavyweight Champion, they need to fix that. So their plan was that he was like, hey, you know, we're running the pay-per-view Survivor Series. We're running it in your hometown of Montreal, Canada. Bret is from Montreal, Canada. And he said, you're going to be facing Shawn Michaels. We're going to have you drop the belt to Shawn. Bret said no, because there was a time, not even there's a time, just it's very well known that if you know any wrestling history, that Bret and Shawn had real life issues.
They did not like each other
at all. Bret was a completely different person than Shawn, because Shawn was not a good man back in the 90s. He was very drugged
No,
up.
he even said in the
Shawn
documentary
was just a boy toy.
Sean, so
He even
I
said-
like to say
He
this.
said in the documentary, like, I have a daughter now, and looking back at what I did, I would not be okay with it.
Yeah, no, Sean is
Like, that's
Sean's a
insane.
completely different person now. I like to say that there's Shawn Michaels pre-God and post-God. Because before Shawn found God, he was a very, very troubled man. He was completely on drugs. He got into so much trouble. He was a nuisance backstage, a big attitude problem backstage, got in constant fights. And then in like the early 2000s, Shawn went to rehab, Shawn found God, and he came back, and it was like he was a completely different person. And now, if you think and look, you could even look at footage of him from the late 90s and look at footage from him from the early 2000s and be like, that's not the same guy. Because it is insane, the difference.
Now, you could definitely tell the difference between, like, just between the two.
Just their
different-
attitude
yeah.
and like the way that he carries himself. You're like, that is.
Because back
completely-
then, he was like just walking around real cocky.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I'm number one.
He was
don't
like,
care
I
about
look
y'all.
great. I'm number one. I look at how. I mean, I.
And now, when you know, just looking at him, you know, in the later 2000s, he was walking around. He was like, "Man, I understand what I did.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm wrongful for that. You know, let me change my way." And he came out more like as
He literally was a guy that found God and turned his life around. It's a very good story for him.
I mean, like, did we like Shawn back then? Yeah, because he was putting on a great story.
I think he was hot back then.
Okay, but he was putting on.
No.
I think late 90s Shawn Michaels is...
Are we putting a Diddy or a no Diddy on this?
Dude, late Shawn with the beard. Oh my goodness. Oh,
But,
I'm 1000% straight, but oh my goodness. I need to look like that.
Dude, if you had, I don't know if I can say.
So the look
Oh,
sponsored by Shawn Michaels. This
I
is
wish.
why we have the long hair.
No, the
here.
long hair is from all the wrestlers.
From all the wrestlers. He said Triple H,
Triple H, Triple H,
Wasn't it Triple H that said he don't believe in CTE?
No, it's Stone Cold.
No, Stone
I'm not a
Cold.
I'm not a CTE guy. Just don't believe it.
Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah,
He's
says
like,
the
I
guy
don't-
that took so many metal chair shots to the head. You probably have CTE, Stone Cold.
But I looked at
I
him
can
so
tell you now
quick.
that I can tell you now that if he does not show it at all.
Yeah, he be hanging out with his cats on his farm.
But,
Did you know that? He's got like a bunch of cats on his farm, and so he's got so many farm animals.
well, I mean, I don't know. That's crazy. I don't think he'd be hanging out with like German Shepherds or something. But okay. Yeah.
Nah, dude, he's got little kitties and he hangs out with them.
But
But-
I mean, I don't know.
back to Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart.
But yeah, so but like we were talking about before we jump back into that, I was just saying like back then, you know, we still liked I was about to say Bret Hart, Shawn Michaels, just because he put on a good story. The dude could sell moves like crazy, and like even when he came back, he could still sell moves like crazy and put on a good story. So I
Yeah,
mean,
if you look at
can
it,
see a difference.
a lot of
but
people
also-
say he had 2 careers. A lot of people like to say that you could literally look at him as 2 different careers. Like when he came in from the 80s up to the late 90s, and then when he left with the rehab and then came back, and then he was from the early 2000s up to like, what was that, 2012, I think is when he retired, 2011, 2012.
somewhere around
So
there. Yeah.
people really like to be like, he had 2 different careers, and both of them are fantastic.
Oh yeah.
Very good performer all the way around.
Honestly, if it wasn't for Shawn Michaels, though, like you got to give him his props, because if it wasn't for him, we would have never had the Attitude Era, which to me is the best era.
Yeah, we wouldn't have had anything. Like a lot of things. We would not have had a lot of, like the way people wrestle nowadays, we wouldn't have that because of Shawn Michaels.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people are inspired by him. But back to their problems. So
Back to the
Yeah,
Bret
so-
Hart,
so Bret-
Montreal Screwdriver.
Brett and Shawn had real life heat. Heat is a term that's used for like actual issues, not something written in a story or anything. These guys had actual issues.
Yeah, they had like backstage issues.
And there was a match that they were going to have at one point in time, and Brett had gone up to Shawn, and he said, look, I don't like you, and I know you don't like me, but I'm going to let you know that out there in that ring, he said, I will take care of you. He said, I'm not going to do anything I'm not going to throw a weird punch, I'm not going to work unsafe with you. I wouldn't do that to you. I'm going to be completely professional out there, and I just want to let you know.
I feel like you should have to do that regardless.
Well, Shawn
I
looked
mean,
he went to go shake his hand, and Shawn looked at him and shook his hand and was like, thank you, I appreciate that, but I'm letting you know I would not do the same for you. And then he walked away.
yeah,
And
that's
Brett
crazy.
remembered that. And Brett, in his mind, he's like, I just told you that I wouldn't hurt you, that I wouldn't jeopardize the show because of our real life beef, and you told me you wouldn't do the same. So now, Brett is leaving the company. He has the world title. They're going to his hometown of Montreal, Canada. And Vince is like, I'm going to have you drop the belt to Shawn. And Brett said, nah. He said, I'm not doing that. He said, I'll have the match with Shawn. He said, I'm okay with anything going. I'm okay with losing. I'm okay with getting disqualified. I'm not dropping the belt to Shawn in my hometown that night. Now, we can run the match, and then I can come back on Raw the following night on Monday, and I'll drop the belt, and I'll vacate it, and I'll explain what's going on. I'll come on the next night, and we can figure something out. He said that he would.
I remember watching
He
another
said that he would
documentary
do
about
the
that.
entire match with Shawn Michaels, and that he would have it in a big schmoz, which was a term at the time for For basically, like, when one person comes out to interfere, and then someone comes out to interfere with that guy, and a bunch of different people come down, and then it gets into a big brawl. And then the ref is like, this is too much, throw the match out. And you don't really have a winner. He was willing to do that and then drop it at the next night. And he was like, you can give it to Sean the next night. I don't care. He said, I'm not dropping it to Sean in my hometown. Because Sean's a dick. Just plain and simple.
Yeah.
And Vince looked at him and he said, that's okay. He said, I do understand. And he said, I need you to promise me that you will not take my belt to WCW on TV. Because Vince had a big fear because there was a woman in 1995 who had gotten released from the company, or her contract was up, but she was WWF champion, and she took her belt to WCW, and on live television, opened up a trash can and threw it in the trash can. And, you know, like, you can always have a new belt made, you can always have a new champion, but how do you explain that to the fans, who, at the time, kind of believe this is real, because nobody at the time was like, yeah, it's fake. People still believe it's real, so how do you explain that to the audience? That somebody from a different company has that belt on a new company. That messes with your whole storyline. And he was like, if Bret Hart goes to WCW with my World Heavyweight Championship, and he goes to it on TV, he's like, I'm screwed. I'm not winning this war. Because like I was mentioning earlier, how we talked about how Vince needed to compete. WCW ended up moving to Monday nights, which is where Monday Night Raw was on, and then Monday Night Nitro. So they would air at the same time on two different networks Monday night.
That's why they go ahead and finish.
Okay.
I
don't
want to interrupt your.
You're good. They aired on Monday nights head to head, and they had a big ratings war. And WCW actually beat them in the weekly ratings for 83 straight weeks in a row. So how bad WWF's product was. Vince is trying to fight back by creating the Attitude Era, or not even creating. It's not even at that time. They're not even deep in there yet. They don't even have the Attitude Era even. It's not even a thing. He's trying hard to fight back, and he's like, I can't have my world champion go there. He's like, but I need to figure something out. And Bret's not going to drop this belt on. So he said, if Bret's not going to drop the belt, I'll just make him drop the belt.
And that's when I was saying that he came down, told Bret got put into the sharpshooter, and Vince was like, ring the bell. And then...
And it's funny because the documentary even says that he's done this before with a woman named Wendy Richter, I believe. I can't remember how to pronounce her last name. But she was a women's champion, and she was like a huge hothead. She was a problem backstage. And Vince was like, I need her to drop this belt. And he would try to book her to drop this belt, and she was like, I'm not doing that. She was like, I'll literally like leave with the belt, or I'll pin the person forcibly and leave. She was like, I'm not dropping this belt. So Vince was like, I need to get this belt off of her, and if she won't comply with me and drop it, he's like, I'm gonna make her drop it. So he got together with the ref, and he got together with the other performer, and he was like, there's gonna be a point in the match where the performer is gonna roll her up for a pin. I want you to come and 1, 2, 3, count it, ring the bell. And now the person that just pinned her is champion. Because now you can't explain to the audience why she just took the belt. You just can't. And so then here we come with the Bret Hart situation. Bret said, I will go on Monday Night Raw the next night and I will vacate the belt. I will not go to WCW with the belt. He had no intention of screwing Vince. He told him that. Vince believed him. He agreed, shook hands. But behind his back, Vince was like, I'm not going to risk that. And plus...
I mean, I wouldn't either.
You don't tell Vince McMahon no. You don't.
Well, it's not just that. It's like, you got my belt. You're not about to tell me what you're gonna do.
Exactly. You don't make the rules in this situation.
Like, that's just a prop to you, but that is my belt.
Yeah.
He paid for it. He's the one that's gonna say who gets it and when they get it.
So he got together. The ref didn't know what was happening.
Nobody knew what was happening.
Nobody knew what was happening.
Because the ring guy, like the bell guy, was like so confused.
The only people that knew what was going to happen that night, Triple H came out and said it.
Yeah.
He said that they were all talking about it. And
Vince told them that they had to swear to secrecy, not to tell anybody that they knew what was going on.
Yeah, he was talking to Triple H and Shawn Michaels. And they were trying to figure out what to do. And he was talking with Bruce Pritchard, which is a booker. And when they were trying to figure out how to do this, Triple H just said, "Make him lose it. Just take it from him." And they went, He was like, "Okay." So then they had to swear to secrecy that they had no idea what was happening. The only people that knew were Triple H, Shawn Michaels, Vince McMahon, and then the ref actually didn't know, Earl Hebner. So the plan was going to be, Bret Hart has a finishing move called the sharpshooter. It's a submission hold. So Bret, what he does is, he picks up your legs, puts his leg, wraps your legs around his, turns you around, and bends you backwards. Very simple move, very famous move.
Just a little side note. In that match, Shawn Michaels did not know how to do that.
That's
move.
what I was about to say. I was about to say
he did not, because it was supposed to be Shawn Michaels takes his finisher to win.
Yeah.
But Shawn Michaels didn't know how to do it at first, and Bret had to tell him, like, no, take the other leg and cross it over.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. I was gonna say that Bret and him actually have like a really good match. Like he's even said in the documentary, he's like, if you go back and watch, he's like, it's a fine match, a pretty good match. But there's a part in the match where Shawn is gonna put him in his finishing move, the sharpshooter. Shawn goes to apply it, and he doesn't even know how to apply it first. He puts it on, and then you can see Bret like fixing his legs and telling him like, no, fix my legs. So like instead of doing this, he like has to fix him and do something like that. As soon as Shawn turns and he's going to put him in the submission, by the point that he's putting the submission on, Vince had come running down the ramp. I actually think Vince was already there.
He was already there.
He was already there because he was commentating. He was on commentary.
I don't know if he was on commentary.
I believe he was, because I know he used to commentate.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't know if he was actually there. Vince, like on commentary. But Vince was there at the inside. As soon as he puts the sharpshooter on Bret, Vince looks at the ref and the ring guy and he goes, ring the bell. Ring the bell. And you could see like confusion. Like what? And he goes, ring the bell. And they ring the bell. As soon as the bell gets rung, the ref gets out of it. The ref immediately gets out because the ref knew that they're in Montreal, which is Bret Hart's hometown, and everyone's gonna know that they.
The ref did. He was
So
like,
he
nope,
was like,
not
they're
me.
gonna kill me. He said, so I had to get out immediately. There's another
Because this was
documentary-
also during the time where, because I don't think they made it a, official, event rule yet, but people were still allowed to, throw their stuff in the ring and everything.
Yeah, so Earl Hebner, the ref, he was just like, I know that they're gonna, kill us. So he got out. And then, Shawn acted confused, but he knew what happened.
Yeah, because even
And-
backstage, Bret and him were in the locker room. And when I was first watching, it was a different documentary I was watching about this, the Montreal Screwjob. That Shawn was like, dude, I had no idea. He's like, God be my witness. And I'm like,
Yeah, he's like, I swear to God,
And
God
now-
be my
and
witness,
now
I
I
didn't
watch-
know.
and now I watch this new documentary and Triple H is saying, oh yeah, we knew. And I'm like, looking
There's
back
also-
at that
there's also a
documentary,
part
and
of
I was
that
like,
same
Shawn, bro, what?
There's a part in that same documentary where Bret's wife is talking
To
into
Triple H.
and she's like, you will pay for this. Karma will get you. That is wrong that you did this. And Triple H is like, I had no idea. He's just chomping his gum. He's like, no idea. No idea.
Hey, I gotta give Vince props though. He took a mean right hook from Bret Hart, also,
Yeah.
and he walked away from it. So
So yeah, essentially what he did was he force rung the bell. Bret didn't tap. Bret's very confused. They hand the belt to Shawn. Audience very confused, but at this point in wrestling, they've kind of smartened up to that it's wrestling, and they can clearly see Bret did not tap. So his hometown is not happy with what they just saw. Like Chris said, Bret looks in the camera and he spells WCW, but he writes it backwards so that the camera catches it.
Yeah.
And he goes backstage. He asks Shawn if he had any idea what that was gonna happen. Shawn was like, I had no idea. Nope. He was like, God be my witness. I swear to God. And he was gonna have a conversation with Vince. Him and Vince went to go talk. Apparently they got together, wrestled up almost, and Bret Hart said that he knew that he was only gonna get a punch in by coming up in between them. So they came up and uppercutted him. You can see Vince. There's footage of Vince walking out of the locker room after everyone
Dude's
stayed out.
dazed. He's
Everyone
dazed.
stayed out when they're Vince and Bret were talking. When there's footage of him coming out and Vince messed up. Vince is walking and he's like.
like
Yeah,
that
dude.
out because he
Oh,
just
that was a mean
he just got his
uppercut.
belt rung.
But then, like,
They
there's
said,
also
"Tell me if this
pictures.
feel fake."
Yeah, no, this ain't
Yeah.
fake, Vince.
But there's also pictures that you see the black eye, and then
Yeah.
like he went on a talk show, and I didn't realize it, but
You could see the makeup. Yeah, you
see
can
the
see the
bruise still
makeup
under
right
it.
there.
Like, it was a mean uppercut.
So
That's good stuff.
I'm happy that you wanted to talk about the Montreal Screwjob because a big thing about the Montreal Screwjob is beforehand, everyone knew who Vince McMahon was. They knew Vince McMahon was the owner. They knew Vince McMahon was a commentary person. But Vince was never an on-screen character. Vince was not the guy that we know him as doing the wild stuff on screen until that moment, because now he would come out and the crowd, no matter where he was at, would boo, and he gets a reaction because everybody knows that he just screwed Brett. So they decided to have an interview with him, and he talks straight from the heart, non-scripted, truly how he believes. He says a line where he's like, "Brett screwed Brett." He's like, "I didn't screw him. Brett screwed Brett. He didn't want to do business, so I did business." And from that point on, that birthed what we
Facts.
know as the Mr. McMahon character, because then every time you saw him, the crowd got freaked out. They booed him, threw stuff at him, they didn't like Vince. So that began his journey of being on TV, which leads into a lot of the wild stuff that he did with booking and with women specifically. It's crazy. the stuff like.
So,
I could probably have this
here's the
episode
thing,
for
me
a
and,
whole other
like-
hour and tell you
Oh,
all
yeah.
the wild stuff that he's done on TV.
Right. So here's the thing about this, where he's like, on TV, I'm Mr. McMahon. Off TV, I'm Vince McMahon. So he's playing it as like, oh, I'm these two different people. Like, he has a character now. And I was telling Nick, I was like, you know, I wonder if he was just using this Mr. McMahon character to cover up a lot of things that he did. So that way he would be like, oh no, that's my character. That's just, you know, how I got to play it as.
Yeah, that's what he's trying
That's
to do.
not me, Vince McMahon.
Right.
So,
Yeah, he said in the documentary that Vince McMahon and Mr. McMahon are two completely different people. Vince McMahon, who he really is different from Mr. McMahon as the character on TV.
but then there's people.
And then they go
Yeah,
and
go
show
ahead.
like Hulk Hogan and John Cena and everyone else, and they're like, nah, they're the same person. He's like, Mr. McMahon on TV is literally just Vince McMahon in real life.
That's good
Which is
stuff.
crazy.
But here's one thing I'm curious about, because like, had he not became a character, do you think any of this stuff might have happened that he's
Yes.
getting? You do?
1,000%.
Okay.
Because there's, I'll get into the actual allegations so that the episode doesn't go too long. I have to, of course, watch every video. So,
Yeah.
I'll talk about some things. So the first thing I
Well, to
want,
keep it short, this man was sued a lot.
this man is going through. He's still getting sued.
He's under Diddy's count.
He is. There's no way he didn't go to a big party. There ain't no way. There is no way he didn't go. McMahon probably some other wrestlers.
McMahon out there getting diddled.
McMahon was in that 5-on-5 dunking on everybody.
Oh gosh.
McMahon he probably brought his own oil.
That's what the beds on the court was for. He thought those were the wrestling rings.
That's what I was about to say. That's why
Diddy probably had a wrestling ring at one of his parties for Vince. You know, get them all oiled up.
Yeah, that big 50-foot bed outside of his house.
Yeah, that's where they got down and dirty and got the Diddy Championship.
They said, "McMahon, slam me."
This is the Diddy World Championship.
But back to you were gonna name off the allegations.
It's funny that you said that. I thought that if he didn't become an on-screen character, would any of these allegations or like anything go on? Because there is something that was from before he was even an on-screen character. So I told Justin this quote at work.
Okay.
It was in the documentary, but I don't know if you were. When I say it, you were gonna have to remember.
Probably.
Because it's so fun. It's so wild.
Mad out of pocket.
Very, very bad. So I'll get into it first. So there is a referee named Rita Chatterton. Rita was known as the first female referee.
Okay, I know the part of the story now.
Yeah, Rita. The female referees were never a thing until she
Mhm.
came along. But she left after she claimed that Vince McMahon sexually assaulted her. And she had gotten paid shush money to basically not bring this to court. And I don't want to laugh, but this quote is, Jesus, it's unreal. So just to pretty much say that she was on a talk show and she was alleging that Vince McMahon had sexually assaulted her in 1986. She left in like 1993, I believe. She claimed that she was forced to perform sexual acts with him, and if she didn't, she would be blackballed from the industry. So not only would she be fired from WWF, but Vince was like, I will make sure that nobody hires you. And you could even find the interview where she says that she was performing, I think, oral sex with him, and that she could not satisfy him. So he pulled her forcibly on top of him and said, if you want a job here, then you're going to have to satisfy me. Which is obviously not good. Bad man Vince, bad man Vince.
Bad.
She ended up leaving in 93 and she remained a licensed referee. She left after that. She remained a licensed referee by the New York Athletic Commission. And she had some other referee untelevised events for other companies and other places, but she ultimately left the whole industry in 93 after the death of Andre the Giant, because that was one of her very close friends. So she left after that completely.
Okay.
She became public about it in 92, about his the allegations. And of course, Vince McMahon denies this. Vince says, no, I did not do that. In the documentary, though, Vince McMahon says, and I quote, this is something word from word from the documentary. He said, it was not rape, it was consensual. And then he said, and even if it had been rape, the statute of limitations ran out. So.
Yeah, I don't remember
That's
that.
Crazy. That's crazy.
I know the story you're talking about, but I don't remember him saying that.
That's crazy. So, I did not rape her, but even if I did, it was so long ago, what's the big deal?
That's
crazy.
Yeah.
Insane.
That is insane.
That is insane to say, especially in a documentary.
On camera.
Yeah.
You were crazy.
Like, in a way, he really snitched on himself.
Yeah, that is the stupidest thing.
In a way, he really
He kind of just did what Hulk Hogan did back on that TV show. You just incriminated yourself on the camera. Dumbass. Yeah. Crazy.
Yeah. But even after that, Vince got even more allegations on top of that. More about, what was another one?
Before we continue about the other allegations, I do want to say that at the time that she came public about this back in 92, Vince denied until him and his wife Linda decided to sue her, the referee, for
defamation.
Yeah, and they claimed that they released her because she was not a competent referee. However, the lawsuit was dropped amid several scandals that were plaguing the wrestling company at the time, and it would be decades before she spoke about it again. She spoke about it again in 2022. She got another chance to talk about it with Wrestling Observer. Wrestling Observer newsletter is a wrestling newsletter that is ran by a guy named Dave Meltzer. I believe it's also ran by somebody else, but it's pretty much like the Wikipedia for wrestling. She, as reported by Wrestling Observer, she was speaking with New York Times Magazine, Abraham Reisman, when Vince McMahon was accused of paying 4 different women large sums of money to keep quiet about other allegations. So this is where we find out Vince had paid 4 other women money to keep quiet about allegations coming out about him. This is because more allegations does not make Vince look good, does not make the company look good.
No.
It means you to shut up. So that's not good.
So at what point did he come to the conclusion, instead of to pay these people, just stop causing allegations to pop up?
He didn't, because even later on, as of up to this year, I would say, he, well, like you've seen, he at one point stepped down, then he came back, stepped down again, then he came back, and now he stepped down because he has even more sex trafficking allegations.
Yeah, the most recent allegations are the craziest thing. He can't come back from that.
Yeah.
No way.
Well, he also almost took somebody down with him, but luckily he was able to get out of it. And if you guys don't know who I'm talking about, Brock Lesnar.
He's not fully out of it yet.
Not fully, but like me and you talked, he's now back on the roster.
Yeah. I did
because
see a report from one of the
because,
analysts saying that don't hold your breath on it, or hold your breath on it, that he might not come back to wrestling because he's still under investigation.
Right.
Yeah.
But because this is the most recent one from somebody saying that they got text from Vince and which this is still ongoing, but her trial got pushed back because now the government is involved trying to investigate Vince in just sex trafficking right now. They pushed her trial back.
It's almost like they're trying to get him for a whole ring of it other than just one separate case. They're like, there's way too many against you. There's something going on. We're going to federally investigate you and your company.
I think that's why Vince also... Did he partner or did he sell?
Sold.
He sold WWE to UFC. Now it's called TKO.
Yeah.
Well, no, they didn't.
No.
They sold it to Endeavor, which
is
UFC's owner.
Parent company
The parent
of
company.
TKO.
Yeah.
So,
where they get Endeavor gets 51% of all earnings, and WWE gets 49%. So.
But back to the referee Rita. When she was talking to Abraham Reisman, the article that he was writing also received statements from Leonard Nzitari, which is a retired wrestler and close friend of Rita. Nzitari claimed that she also told him the accusations after it happened, or she claimed that Rita told him accusations after everything happened, but they kept quiet about it because they were fearing that they would lose their jobs. So they did not want to talk about these allegations because they didn't want to get fired. Later that year, Rita sued McMahon for $11.75 million in damages, according to a report released in 2023. She was among the women who received a cash settlement instead of a trial, so that he could maintain his innocence. So she came out about accusations in the early 90s, and then he paid her money to shut up, stop. Very wild stuff, but the most recent allegations I'm sure that everybody knows about is about his one of his secretaries and someone that was on his legal team, Janelle Grant. She came out with a bunch of stuff, which is very crazy. It involves poop.
Not defecation, fam.
Defecation. So pretty much, Janelle, I have it right here. He
said, "Who is this guy? Why is he using college words?"
I have it all under Screen Rants and Wrestling Observer. Oh boy. So, Janelle Grant, in January of this year, January 25th, she filed a lawsuit against Vince McMahon and WWE and former WWE head of talent relations, John Laurinaitis, alleging... What's up?
I haven't heard that name in so long.
I know,
John
that's a crazy name, ain't it?
Yeah.
Man, I gotta pee so bad. I'm gonna pee on you.
Don't.
Golden shower time?
No.
This ain't even the Diddy episode.
So alleging that McMahon had sexually assaulted and trafficked her and sought to have an NDA relating to the conduct voided, both under the Speak Out Act, which makes such NDAs illegal and unenforceable, as nullified by Vince McMahon's refusal to allow the contracted obligations within the NDA. Janelle Grant, which is a former paralegal who lived in the same apartment complex as Vince McMahon, was offered employment with WWE in 2019 after both of her parents died. During the course of her employment, Janelle Grant alleged that McMahon recruited individuals, most notably John Laurinaitis, for the purpose of sexual relations with her. On alleged conduct, she made several noteworthy allegations, including, in June of 2020, Grant, McMahon, and a personal friend of McMahon engaged in a threesome. And at one point, McMahon defecated upon her. McMahon temporarily retreated to the restroom to clean himself up, at which point the threesome continued for an hour and a half with her still covered in his feces.
That's just nasty.
In June of 2021,
John Laurinaitis and Vince McMahon cornered her and pulled her in between them, forcibly touched her before ultimately putting her on top of a table in between them. She begged them to stop, but they forced themselves on her, each taking turns restraining her through the During the course of her employment, McMahon shared sexually explicit media with a world-famous athlete, in quotations, and former UFC heavyweight champion. Who was a world-class famous athlete.
Is that straight from the indictments?
Yeah.
I love how they always like make them little crossword hints.
Yeah, they're always little hints.
Yeah.
To get you to guess who's actually redacted there.
Well, in the
So
documentary, it shows that she's also has pictures of the text messages between her and Vince.
Yeah.
So,
And they didn't say who it was, but there is no other big star in WWE that is a former UFC World Heavyweight Champion other than Brock Lesnar. Nobody else.
I was gonna say CM Punk light heavyweight.
He was not a champion. He was 0-2. Matt Riddle was
No, not in the UFC. CM Punk sucked in the UFC.
Oh, okay.
I was talking about WWE.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure he was champion at least once.
Yeah, he was champion.
he was
multiple
WWE
times.
champion multiple
But
times.
what they
seen that growing
Not
up.
light heavyweight, no. He was
Uh,
never light heavyweight champion.
What?
He was WWE champion.
Yeah, he was WWE and World Heavyweight Champion.
Whatever it is, that's what I meant.
He was World Heavyweight Champion at one point.
But he wouldn't have been heavyweight.
General Grant alleged that the misconduct continued until 2022, at which point Vince McMahon's wife Linda discovered their affair and threatened to divorce him.
Period, girl.
Yeah, period. Yeah, stand on business. After several months of negotiations, McMahon, Grant, and WWE signed an NDA,
I mean,
which she would be awarded $3 million for her silence.
did she find out he was out here pooping on other girls? Like,
It's possible. That could have been the deal breaker.
that's past the deal breaker, Nick. That's so far past the line. It's out the building.
So she was going to get paid $3 million for her silence. She alleged that McMahon attempted to assault her again after signing this NDA. Also alleged that key figures in WWE were very fully aware of the conduct and actively sought to conceal McMahon's wrongdoings. So they all were hiding it. They were all like, yeah, we know Vince is raping her. Yeah, it's okay. We know Vince is be doing some weird stuff. It's okay. We hide it. That's our boss. We hide it.
Yeah, I'm gonna say it sounds like Vince got a lot of people involved in a lot of stuff that he was doing.
What is wrong with people that get a little bit of power, dude?
So the reason
A
that
little
her
bit? That man
allegations,
was
her
running,
case is
like-
the reason her case is pushed back is because of all these federal investigations going into Vince and the company of WWE now.
Mm.
So she said in May of this year that she agreed to stay her case against him for 6 months at the request of the Department of Justice. So since May, she is still, well, it should be up by now, but she's probably stayed her case again. I'd have to look. But in May, she decided to stay her case. So she was like, I'm going to still fight this. Like, I want
Dude, could you imagine like how busy the government is right now? Like they're trying to investigate on Diddy and Mr. McMahon.
And then
so
you got
wild.
and you got the two political opponents right now shooting lies back and forth that they got to keep looking into. Like, did he really funnel? Did they really funnel money? Into his brain?
funny money. Did they really funny money? Funny.
Did they really funny money? Put money?
Yeah, so dude, the government's like they're doing so much work in 2024.
They're over here trying to get CAT scans on Cat's brain.
What do you know?
Boy.
Bubba.
Boy.
Oh man! All right, y'all.
Crazy.
So we're gonna wrap this episode up. My boy Nick's got to use the bathroom. He said. So we're gonna wrap.
Oh yeah,
this
if you poke my stomach, I'll probably piss all over the place right now.
up. We're not gonna do that. So
We might.
no. So
got
as you guys
YouTube.
know, make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Hit the like button. Turn on the notifications. Follow us on X. Follow us on TikTok. Follow us on Facebook and Instagram.
And
You
oh,
guys-
Don't poop on no one. Don't go pooping on people.
Don't
Don't do that.
Don't be like the bad man that you guys have found out today, Vince McMahon. Because if you guys ain't with the boys, who you guys with? We out of here.
Bye bye.